I hope you are doing very well. Today is November 19, 2020. As you heard, you probably received this email from YouTube about the new terms of service agreement, and this is creating a lot of buzz on social media. I'm not surprised because 2014 and later part of 2017, YouTube pulled some moves, and I knew this was like a matter of time that they were going to start discussion about new terms on these things. But the part that is creating a lot of the buzz is this part right here, which is the right to monetize, in which YouTube is saying you grant to YouTube the rights to monetize your content on the service, and such monetization may include displaying ads on or within content or charging users a fee for access. This agreement does not entitle you to any payment starting November 18, 2020. Any payments you may be entitled to receive from YouTube under any other agreement between you and YouTube, including, for example, payments under the YouTube Partner Program, channel membership, or Super Chat, will be treated as royalties. And royalties has its own connotations and legal connotations as such. So if required by law, Google would withhold taxes from such payment and send a series of emails to update more on this particular new service agreement. And so for the channels not yet in the YouTube Partner Program, YouTube is saying we added this new section to let you know that starting today, we will begin slowly rolling out ads on a limited number of videos from channels not in YPP, which is the YouTube Partner Program. This means as a creator that is not in YPP, you may see ads on some of your videos since you are not currently in YPP. You want to receive a share of the revenue from these ads, though you will still have the opportunity to apply for YPP as you normally would once you meet the eligibility requirement. You can always check your progress toward eligibility on the monetization tab in your YouTube studio. Continues by saying, for monetizing creators in the US, we also updated the terms of service to mention that any payments from YouTube to US creators will be considered royalties from a US tax perspective, effective today, November 18, 2020. Some creators may be required to submit tax information in AdSense and may be subject to US withholding taxes if required by law. US creators will be generally unaffected by these withholding taxes as long as they provide valid documentation. If you have further questions, you may want to seek professional tax advice. For creators outside the US, we will provide more information about when these terms will be available for you next year. We hope this helps clear up any questions about these changes. Team YouTube, Rumo. So anyway, so to continue, it looks like YouTube has fired a warning shot. Will not pay ad revenue starting November 18, 2020. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all because December 2014, after the Sandy Hook shooting, the horrific shooting, YouTube started demonetizing gun channels. Some were even blocked from posting on there. Their channel was frozen. And I saw that around October 2017 to the later part of the year, and also a little bit in 2018, after the Las Vegas shooting, YouTube started demonetizing those gun channels again. They start demonetizing channels that intended to sell firearms, instructions, ammunitions, certain accessories, and they blame it on the algorithm. But the reason I know it wasn't true because it took some congressmen to push back saying that the decision YouTube made was political. And that is why they were able to eventually release that. In that, I knew people that had millions of subscribers that were making $30,000 a month. And they lost serious revenue in that time. And so I've seen this before, and YouTube is going to, as a business, is going to make these decisions, and it's gotten so big. And I don't even think YouTube is calling the shot. Google is. Google is very, very powerful. It's like they have leverage to do a lot of things. And so I remember during that time, a lot of the gun channels fled to Patreon because Patreon allowed them to create without restrictions. And also I think Patreon takes about 5% of commission on pledges compared to the split sharing of on YouTube. And so I think eventually Patreon also pull some move like that. And so Google, who owns YouTube, has a serious ambition, and so what Google is telling us pretty much is saying, I've created a platform costing Google tens of millions of dollars to allow content creators to participate without costing you financially, i.e., there's no subscription fees to use YouTube platform. And Google is saying the platform is benefiting the content creators financially through allowing them to promote their products and services, as well as being paid by ad placement revenue sharing through the partnership program. So as a business, Google needs to increase revenue and reduce costs. They lost a lot of money this year. So they are making these changes, on these platforms. And because it's a privilege to be part of this platform and not a right. So it's a boss move. They're making this statement, and what some of the content creators are saying, that our videos provide views for potential customers to purchase items or services from this advertisement on the channel. Thereby, and therefore, we are valuable asset on YouTube. Google is saying, no, I'm calling the shot. Google is saying you need me more than I do. They do. They have leverage in this aspect. Google is involved in a lot of things. Google shakes nations. Google has a lot of say in a lot of areas, and Google's ambition is to be the #1 company in the world, especially when it comes to the mastering of artificial intelligence. And Google is competing with Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and a couple of big Chinese companies. And so Google needs all the money needs to be for this, audacious ambition. And so Google is going to squeeze all his daughters and sons and all that stuff and junior companies to actually bring in this revenue. Okay. And so I'm going to make some prediction that what is going to happen, because I think what is going to happen, some already been said by YouTube, is obviously the tax thing. They can't get away with it. They're going to be paying taxes. The government is coming after them. They will have to pay. And so they're going to start instituting the federal and state taxes already. They'll be collecting it from content creators, especially those in the United States. Now, in terms of the content creators outside United States, the federal governments may even come and tax something, saying, I don't care where the person resides. If they're making money in the United States, they need to pay some kind of tax. Now, another thing that is tricky, that is potential, because I've seen it in other industries, this nation states will appear to YouTube and say, look, we have content creators in our respective countries. They are making a lot of money on YouTube. We don't have a robust tax revenue system here to collect these taxes, because sometimes the money is being deposited in foreign account. So we want you to tax them at a certain rate. So for example, a country can come and say, we want you to tax them at 8% or whatever the number is, and YouTube, you take 2%. So you see there's incentive for YouTube to do that, because YouTube is getting some additional revenue of 2% from this taxation. Okay, this is plausible. Or another thing Google is going to do, Google is going to change the revenue breakout from 45 to 55 split for all content creators. They might do 60-40, they might do 70-30 or whatever. Or they might increase the eligibility requirements to receive revenue. Or they might come up with some subscription fees, as they have indicated. Or at the most extreme measures, they would demonetize all channels. And so all these additional costs will be transferred to the content creators, because Google has serious ambitions and Google needs revenue, and Google is going to go for them. And so you have to look at it from the other perspective. For example, let's say if Google makes $1 billion from YouTube 1 year, Google doesn't want to make $1 billion the next year. Google wants to make more than that. And Google always wants to make more. So that means that it has to come out from somewhere, which will be the content creators. and that kinds of stuff. So like I said, I've experienced this before. And so this thing should be humbling, because some people thought, some content creators thought, that based on their subscription, viewers, and content was so incredible that YouTube need them. Google is telling us that even if you are the biggest shark or even the biggest whale in the ocean, Google is saying that I am the ocean that you are swimming in. So Google is making that statement. So Google believes they are doing you a favor in creating this platform for you to use and market yourself. You may disagree, but it doesn't matter. Somebody's calling the shot. It's not you. It ain't me either. So this is a boss move by Google through YouTube. And so it'll be interesting how they approach this thing going the next 6 months, how this is going to happen. But my prediction is everything that I've illustrated, some of them is going to give. And so what are the solutions? That's why I cringe when people want to make YouTube as the only source of income, because like I said, I saw this in 2014 and 2017 to early part of 2018 when channels were gone. Okay, so either you create a new platform to compete or diversify your income streams, because YouTube income, just like having one job, is not guaranteed, regardless of how much you are making. And so strive for 5 ways to generate income at a minimum. That should be the goal. So it will be interesting. Am I surprised? No. Did I see this thing coming? Yes, because I saw it, several years ago. And I think this is not just the beginning. This might be a dry run to see what a response will be. But eventually Google needs money, and Google is going to squeeze where it's going to get it as a business. And so anyway, this is my perspective. I wanted to give you another picture to add it to it. I'm not going to do any video bashing YouTube and stuff, because listen, if you don't like it, do your own, create your own, and then you don't have to complain. If you don't like how being treated, control your own destiny, right? That's like I always say. So anyway, I appreciate you listening. Thank you. And I'm going to do a live stream this Saturday. Don't forget to tune in. It's going to be epic.